with us. We the mafia. You're the mafia.
Rush.
With us. We got Marf with us. We the mafia. You're the mafia. Come mob with us. We got Marf with us.
Russia accuses U.S. of direct participation in the UKR war, but Lavrov open to talks. It says that Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov accused the U.S. and NATO on Thursday of direct participation in its conflict in UKR, but claimed that Moscow was still open to talks. In an annual news conference from Moscow, the foreign minister began his comments by defending Russia's barrage of missile fire on civilian targets like UKR's energy sector and attempted to claim that it was a defense tactic to halt Western arms. It says, quote, "We disable energy facilities in UKR that allow you, the West, to pump lethal weapons into UKR to kill Vlad's country." It says that Lavrov said, according to translation by Reuters, it says that you don't say that the U.S. and NATO are not participants in this conflict. You are directly participating. He continued, including not only with the supply of weapons, but also with the training of personnel. You train the UKR military on your territory. Lavrov was referring to the international efforts to train up UKR servicemen with NATO tactics in nations like Britain, Germany, and Italy. Comments which were made after reports surfaced this week suggesting that Washington may expand its training of UKR soldiers on U.S. bases in Germany. Vlad has been accused of by NATO of using winter as a weapon of war by forcing UKR citizens to endure increasingly harsh conditions without electricity, heat, or running water as the cold months set in. Again, this is, most people see that as it's a tactic that's been used before. This is obviously a pretty big statement. Basically, him calling out the U.S. directly, saying not only are you involved by handing them stuff, but you are also involved by directly training these men to kill us. So it is a big deal. We'll be talking about this and much, much more on tonight's show. It is a live show. Anything can happen. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
You're the mafia. Come mob with us. We got Marf with us. We the mafia. You're the mafia.
All right, what is going on, guys? If you've never been here before, remember, sign up for our notifications directly from us so you're not getting them 3 days late over at marfooglenews.com. You can also sign up for our email list. That email list is exclusive. It's only used in very, very light conditions. We haven't used it in months. That system was actually set up in case if we had information that we needed to get to you right away, that would be the way we'd get you. Or if we were knocked off for any reason, we would let you know where we are. We are going to be utilizing that soon, so make sure to sign up now. If you've never been here before, we always make sure to try to have a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we are going to show you here today. It is all backed up and archived over on marfooglenews.com. Now, when you go over there, you'll see it's very easy to navigate. It is all done by thumbnail. Today's thumbnail is, of course, looking into the future don't look around the corner. When you click on that, it will bring you to every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to share here. That way you have a source for everything we are going to say, including all of the documents, pictures, any kind of tweets that we share here are going to be available there. If you have breaking news that we don't have in the show and it's breaking as we're on, it is a live show and we have chat. If you get that story to us, we can actually add it into the show or add it into the website. That is also a great part of being interactive. The Foogle fam has helped a lot in all of this news. Again, we also have our own opinions. We'll try to clarify when those are, of course, our own opinion or if it is something that we are reading. I've had people comment a couple times, saying I've read I think they caught a clip of the show where I was reading a pro, Zelensky thing or something, and they say, I was out the second you were pro Zelensky. I don't think they discerned whether I was reading an article or I wrote the article or something. I don't know. But again, remember, when we're reading these articles, they're gathered from all over the world, from all over different media sources, independent and mainstream, and then we ask questions. So let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Google fam. I am doing just fine.
So we have a lot to go over. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Deep State of Mind. We have Kimbria, Carol McLean, John Clark. Thank you, Lunar Wolf, for being here. We've got Life is Better on Stilts, Scooby-Doo Do-Right, 3-Kid Mom. We have Skyhouse, Tesla 474. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Jamie Garcia, Pippi Lou, Renegade Petey, and many, many more. Thank you for being here already. All right, let's get right back into the news. Of course, inside Elon Musk's Neuralink test that left monkeys dying and chewing off fingers as Twitter boss readies human trials. So Neuralink, by the way, if you've been living under a rock, this is a system that he's developing to hook up into our human brains and to connect us with the computer. It sounds like it's from a Black Mirror episode. It sounds like it's sci-fi, but it is now coming. And it is happening faster than anybody could have dreamed or nightmared. And it is something that is very, very scary. Now, he is on the level where he says that we are going to have this because AI is moving fast, so fast that it doesn't have any oversight, and it is a bigger threat than nukes. That is his public opinion on that. So he's saying this is our defense and how we stay relevant in an age of AI and technology. Elon Musk says his brain chip implant will be trialed on humans within 6 months. Mind you, there have been a ton of people that have tweeted him and asked to be a part of the original people or the first people to test this. And then on the other hand, you have people that said, I would not want to be the first people to test this. They're going to be tapping into people's brains. This could go horribly wrong where they end up tapping into brains and people end up perishing, and then the whole thing gets, kaputs. It says after lab monkeys allegedly perished and others bit off their own fingers. It says the Neuralink technology has already shocked the world after tests showed a monkey playing video game Pong with its thoughts. Dex, first of all, monkeys playing Pong is nuts, but doing it with their thoughts, that's on a whole other level.
Yeah, this tech, it's kind of like, I look at it like AI. They're inevitable. It's going to happen, whether he does it or someone else does it. We're going to see the ability to interface with the brain at some point in the future. It's on the technology roadmap, so to speak. It has to happen, just like artificial intelligence. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It's going to happen. So, it's not something I'm raising my hand to sign up for by any means, but I can sort of think, a generation or two into the future and think that there'll be a day when everyone will have this. And there'll be some holdouts that don't, kind of like there's some people right now that say, I don't have a cell phone and I'll never have a cell phone because they're bad, but the rest of the world still has them, right?
Yeah. One of my oldest sister was one of them. She didn't have a cell phone until like 2 or 3 years ago, but she was definitely against the idea of people reaching her at any time and moment. If you're watching, she's probably shaking her fist at the screen. I made fun of her for a very long time, and then when she did get a phone, it was like one of the old school phones, like when everybody had touch screens and everything else. As far as Neuralink, it's a scary thing as far as what this means for humanity itself. Think about when and people are making fun of Zuckerberg and saying that he's about to fail and all of this. Zuckerberg knows where this is going, and Zuckerberg knows what is happening in the next few years. Look at what happened during CV. We were all locked in. A lot of people picked up VR headsets. Now you could look at it and go, oh, well, he saw it during CV. He thought, oh, this is a great idea. Well, people are locked up. But what about when people aren't? Well, is there a chance that that could happen again? Many experts say that there is, and they're even preparing and putting out drills like we're going to have another CV, or CV is going to turn into something. Straight out of the movie Songbird, that's what experts are saying is very possible, even in the next couple years. And if they did have something like that happen, it would be pretty easy to line us all up again 6 feet apart. So it's if we did have something outside, an invisible enemy, and we ended up being all locked in our house, then putting on a headset or hooking up Neuralink to your avatar and going into the world, it's a very freaky thing. Which, by the way, the show Peripheral on Amazon, it is it is a pretty good show if you want entertainment value. But if you actually look at the Peripheral for what it is, it's actually a very scary predictive programming scene. It actually shows the end of the world with North American grid being hacked and going down. Don't want to put any spoilers out beyond that, but it shows them in 2030 with VR headsets and a new tech that's basically you're in it. You are in this VR, and it is something that they are actually working on. And Neuralink will work hand in hand someday with VR or some sort of virtual experience. This is something that people need to not only be aware of, but understand the implications of what this could do to all of us. I've already talked about how, in the future, you'll be able to walk into Walmart, but you'll be sitting on your couch and you'll be able to pick up products. And then once you pick them up, within an hour, they're at your house, just as if you went to Walmart. Walmart is one of the places that's actually setting up an infrastructure for VR ordering and VR everything. They're buying up virtual land for virtual tours. Imagine walking down the street and seeing your Pop's tire shop or something over on the right. Well, Pop's owns the tire shop, but he doesn't own the digital rights to it. So if somebody's driving with their VR or Neuralink hooked up, they will actually see all of the digital billboards. In fact, they could change Pop's tire shop to eat at McDonald's or drink Coca-Cola. And they could totally do that, even though Pops owns the tire shop. He doesn't own the digital rights to that land. That is what they're doing right now, and they are selling it. It's just kind of like when we've first heard about Bitcoin, and people are like, "Oh, okay, so nobody knows who made it. They're $10 a piece, and it's digital money. There's nothing that backs it." And people are like, "Oh yeah, sure, buddy." Same thing with this. Same thing with the digital land sale and people buying up land online. This is something that is going to pick up way faster than you think. We're talking about in the next couple of years, you're going to see all of this just kick off. And we, obviously we've been telling you, and by then it will be like, we won't be here to tell you we told you so, because I guarantee in the next couple of years, they're probably going to censor almost everything, any kind of voice of dissent. All right, and then prayers. Hawaii history shows stopping lava is not easy. So Dex, they've actually used big boom booms. And before that, let me just say thank you. Thank you to John. I appreciate that. John did a super chat there. Thank you very much. Let's see here. I saw that. Where did I see that? What was their screen name? John. Let's see here. John Clark, thank you. Says the B administration, JB administration approved a $1 trillion conflict package. Your thoughts? We called it. We said they're making them look like they're suffering. Well, they're not making it look. The people there are suffering, and the media is saying, these people have no water, no power, no nothing. And then, of course, we talked about how when they are losing or when they look bad, right after that comes more money being sent out. That's just my opinion. Again, that's not fact, but pretty much I would think if somebody put that on a graph and lined it all up, it would be almost every single time the media kind of sways away from rooting them on and saying they're winning. It seems right after there's some sort of huge payment. $1 trillion. It's unbelievable. Hello from Queensland, Australia. Thank you so much from Australia. I appreciate that. Queensland, beautiful place. I wish I could go someday. Thank you for all your hard work and great mods. Well, thank you, and thank you for thanking the great mods. And then Fate Favors the Prepared Dean, thank you. And Survival Living, thank you, man. I appreciate that. You know, you don't have to do that. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, he's great. He really is. He's one of our good friends on and off camera. He's just a genuinely nice guy. And then, well, somebody brought it up. I do want to remind you, if we are not live for any reason, make sure to go check out all of our friends in the chat tonight. I'm hoping to see some of my favorite people down there. Lisa R. Hall, Bones, CJ Blaze, Gem, Jammer One, P&W Affliction, Rip Curl Readiness, RGL Harris, Leah, Trinity or Red or Blue Pill, Hi Ho, Kermit the Frog here, and of course Wages World pops in from time to time to mod. Thank you, Wages, if you're here. And then all of our friends down below, great people down there. Make sure to check out their channels as well. What do you guys think, though? As far as Dex, what do you think about this whole using boom booms for Hawaii and stopping lava and the history of doing this? Is this going to get a whole lot worse?
Well, it's currently approaching the 3 to 4 mile mark, maybe 3 miles now, or 4 miles is the distance before it starts hitting some populated areas. And I think, everybody's sort of worried because there's nothing has really stopped this in the past. They've obviously done prayers. They've literally dropped boom booms into certain places to try to disrupt lava flow in the past, and it didn't work. So this is one of those things that, it's Mother Nature at its finest. And, if you're in the way of it, it's not going to be a pretty sight when it comes, knocking at your front door, so to speak, or burning your front door down, so to speak. So, yeah, I feel for the people that are in the path. We'll probably learn as this continues to grow who's going to be affected, where it's actually going to hit. They know the flow of it, they see it, they track it, but it's one of those slow things that just sort of, it's slowly moving. But I want to say the last I read, it was about 3 or 4 miles away.
And with today's technology, they basically talk about how there really isn't any good ways to do it. When they did drop, big bombs on it, they would make a huge crater thinking that it would go in there and fill up, or go in there and divert it. But what ended up happening is it's Mother Nature. It keeps coming. It keeps producing. So it would just fill that up and just keep going. They would try to make paths. They would try to dig. They tried to do everything. I wonder, this is a serious question, and I bet there probably is, but do you have volcano insurance? Is that something that exists, or is that considered an act of God under your insurance? What about lava flow if it burnt down your house? Would that be considered an act of God? I'm assuming so. I just wonder, because obviously in California they have earthquake insurance. That's not under the whole act of God part, I believe. And then and that's a very specific event. Let me know in the chat below. And again, thank you everybody that has popped in. Rip Curl's here tonight. Nice to see you, Rip. And another great channel. He covered, speaking of fires, he covered all of the Paradise stuff that was going on. Drove through insane scenes. If you haven't looked back at his channel, really crazy stuff. Lisa R. Hall, thank you for your support. Very appreciate it. Says to Grace for you too. Thank you. Matthew Shaw says $5.99 for a cauliflower head. See, what if we dropped a building on it? Tommy Lee Jones, Little Willie, yeah. Don't forget Mr. Monkey Box. Yeah, we have all sorts of stuff covering all of the different things coming our way. Stay tuned. Meta's latest AI proves that artificial intelligence and humans can work together. Dex, this is exactly what I was saying. This is like see, Zuckerberg knows what's happening next, and that's what's freaky. And before they announced how much money they lost right now, everybody, before all of that, everybody said he was a visionary and he knows things. After they put out their numbers, then everybody's like, oh, he's an idiot and he might be replaced. They might do a coup and replace him. But I think that there is some stuff that we don't know on a civilian level that these rich elites do. What do you think about this and what they built?
Well, specifically, what they've done with this version of an AI is improve the ability for the AI to collaborate, communicate, and sort of diplomatically talk to humans, and even come across as human. And I guess the example, part of it is they played this game, diplomacy, but the other example they sort of give is if you were talking to your virtual assistant, whether that's Siri or Google or what's Alexa or whatever, but what if instead of it just responding to answers to simple questions and only the things it knows, what if it was actually holding a conversation with you and teaching you something, or debating you? And that's where they're getting to the point with this AI, is to take it to that next level of actually being able to interact with a human in a normal conversation, and in a way that they could debate or learn from or teach a human something because of through normal conversation, through what we would normally do as humans, how we interact. So it's pretty scary when you think about the level of AI they're reaching here. But it's also, in my opinion, it's still pretty infant. We're nowhere near where this is going to be, say, 5 years from now or 3 years from now. It's growing at an exponential rate.
And that's why people like Elon are saying that it's scarier than nukes. And we've seen the Black Mirror episodes, we've seen Terminator, we've seen these things, and because of those movies and because of the sci-fi that we've watched, we kind of laugh it off, or we are definitely desensitized to it. We don't think about those. Everybody talks about it. They'll write op-eds about, oh, could this happen? But it's happening. And I guess the thing is people are going to wait until something breaks. People are going to wait until someone dies. People are going to wait until a lot of people perish before they even think about altering something. Usually how things happen in the Western nations is we don't fix things until it's broken. Japan is one of the few places that, they'll sign a check for $1 trillion that they will never see the benefits for. They'll sign it for their grandchildren. But that's one of the few cultural kind of exceptions. As far as like in the Western nations, we wait until something's broken to fix it. We always wait until a pothole to fix it instead of, fixing it beforehand or putting better materials or whatever. They will retrofit brick buildings afterwards, not do it in the first place because it's expensive, right? But as far as this goes, when they start putting this together, when they start utilizing this in everyday life, where we're already seeing robot dogs and autonomous things being used by police, which is going to be the first use for it, that is where it starts getting sketchy. We just covered yesterday or the day before where they just passed something. What was that, California? Was it California that passed something to where they could use a robot San Francisco, a lethal robot to go in? So if there's a hostage situation, they could put in a robot and it will go in and go take the guy out. That had to be approved and that had to be morally debated. And apparently they said, yeah, sure, let's do it. These are the kind of things that are going to happen in the near future. But yeah, so they're saying that we will be able to work hand in hand with it. This is all a setup for our near future. And that's why people like Elon Musk are saying your best bet in the future is to have some sort of universal income, because things are going to be a whole lot different. You're going to be stationed there, and who knows, to get to the level where they're talking about, it would almost be like we would have to be in mega cities, that we would have to be moved into mass pop centers where everybody has a little 8x8 room, a pod or something, and we all put on our goggles. Instead of going for a walk, we jog on some sort of treadmill with a VR set on. We do all of our shopping in our VR. People think that this isn't coming and that that it's not a big deal. It's coming so fast, and obviously the people that run this planet know it, and they're changing things drastically. And then the VAT is buzzing with conspiracy theories as hackers take down the Pope's website. This is very odd, and of course, lots of things that swirl around the vat all the time. It says out of Rome, it is no secret that Francis has been ruffling feathers on the global stage in recent weeks. He has angered Vlad, he's angered UKR, he's angered Xi over his comments in the last month alone. So when the VAT's official website went dark on Wednesday, it was hard to determine just which of the Trump's enemies might be behind it. While the VAT spokesperson initially said that the site was undergoing maintenance and technical difficulties, he finally admitted that the Holy See had been hacked. Technical investigations are ongoing due to abnormal attempts to access the site, Matteo Bruni said in a statement late on Wednesday. So somebody hacked into the Pope's website. It says, but those abnormal attempts could be a warning of more to come. The prime suspect is Vlad's country, which has a history of conducting cyber against enemies of the state. The holy hack came just 24 hours after France had angered the Kremlin by singing out Chechens and Burati troops within the military contingent invading UKR, leading accusations of rape against the pontiff. Dex, this is, was there any update, by the way? This was, they keep going, and since the original author of this, it's definitely come out that it was a hack. Why does that matter, though? I've never seen his actual website before this came out. What does it have? Is there information, or is it just his way of talking to people online, or what does it do?
Well, it's one of the largest religions in the world. It supports the entire platform. So it's not just like his personal website. It's the VAT's website. It's everything for the Universal Church. So big. It's a big deal. It is an attack. They are We've covered these different types of cyber events. This is definitely one that seems like it's been obviously strategically done for a reason against somebody, in this case, against the VAT and the organization.
I just wonder if there's any, there's probably not that, information, or what information can people go up and sign up for something? Could they access people's information that have signed up for a service that's on that site? That's what I wonder, what was the point of it? Was it just to say like, F you, that we can hack anything? I'm just curious. And then John Clark, so we'll address this here. Cashless society is coming, NW, and the O. I could see that at my local Walmart, where they have 50 self-checkouts with only one that takes cash. They're basically making it super inconvenient, making you wait for 30 people, or you could just check out if you have a credit card. Neil Nelson, thank you. And how they've done tap to pay, where now tap to pay is as good as having your card on you. It used to be where if you used your tap to pay like 2 or 3 times, it would, flag stuff. Now you can even go to the bank and take money out with tap to pay, which is kind of crazy to think about, because you can have it on a watch, you can have it on whatever. They're trying to get people into that. And why that's a bad thing, if you have to ask, then that's crazy. I heard from a source that is getting their Sarmat missiles ready. Your thoughts on this? So I believe we're briefly touching on some of the rumors that are going around. But as far as them getting Sarmats ready, their Sarmats are always ready. That's just my general opinion on it. Sarmats are always ready. Same with ours. Very, very freaky to think about. Sarmats, or their Satan II missiles, those things can destroy like 3 states. They're equivalent to like 15 huge nukes or something, or they actually release multiple. The Sarmat's getting ready. I would like to see, I guess, where that's coming from. As far as the official information, there's rumors from UKR side that they are possibly going to mobilize 2 million to 5 million people. All of China's military is 2 million strong, and they are the largest manned army. So to talk about 2 million being added to the current force of Vlad's, that would be saying they're preparing for a much bigger conflict. 5 million, that's absolutely nuts. That's a world conflict. That's preparing for all-out WW3. As far as Sarmats, I think that they will be last resort. I don't think nuclear warfare would be first. I think it would be dead last. In fact, I think it would be one of the last things that happens, because they have all sorts of other military tech. So that's one of the least things I'm worried about. As far as one place getting hit, 1-1, like they shoot one over, they shoot one over, that I think could happen in our lifetimes and possibly soon because of what they want to, how they want to scare us. That would be something that is the worst Fantastic Freddy event we have ever seen. It would one up everything in the past. Or there could be another harbor situation, a Pearl Harbor situation, something like that. We've seen signs of that with Russian and ships off of Hawaii and all sorts of weird things. And then that nuclear, the Poseidon system that can cause 1,500-foot waves. You know, people laugh at that, but that's supposedly a real system. It's really freaky. So thank you. And then Neil Nelson, grace for you too. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that. And then Neil Nelson, thank you as well. Thank you guys and appreciate you. Rip Curl Readiness, they may not need nukes if we give all of our weapons to other countries. A lot of people's opinions right now, and what I've seen on Twitter and on Reddit, a lot of people's opinions right now is that we're giving away all of our weapons. Think about how they said that Vlad is out of missiles. Think about where ours are going. How much of a stockpile do we have? We're giving them to somebody else to fight somebody else's conflict. On top of all the money and the $1 trillion and what, previous packages of $1 billion, they said a lot of that was actually equipment and missiles and weapons. If we're giving our Patriot systems and our Iron Dome systems away, what the heck is going to protect us? That's one thing to think about. Before we move on, we're going to talk about a rise in kidnapping plots. This is exactly what we were talking about. This is like what we were suggesting and speculating. Now there's evidence to say that it's true. I do want to remind everybody, if you do think about EMPs, or if you don't know what an EMP is, I'd highly recommend going and looking at what this actually protects against. An EMP shield is a device that you can wire into your car. You can wire it into your truck, your generators, your house, your boats, your motorcycles, anything that you want to keep running after an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse. This is the event that people talk about, could knock out our entire grid here in the U.S. and other places in the world. If you want to block against all three phases of an EMP and actually protect yourself against a solar flare, or a CME, a coronal mass ejection, a Carrington-level event, then you can do so at marfooglenews.com/EMP. EMP Shield is the same company that has helped agencies like DHS, DOD, and of course, they're on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. Governments all over the world are protecting themselves against this. Are you? That's a good question because, again, we've seen when emergencies happen, they don't come and save you. So if you're going to protect yourself, I would highly recommend looking into it. When you go support a company like this, which is, again, a veteran-owned company, 100% American-made, you're also helping our independent channel, and you're getting a huge discount. You get $50 off per device, and this stacks on top of whatever sales they're running. So always make sure to use that link, and that will automatically get you that discount. When you get multiple, or if you're trying to outfit 3 or 4 cars, it's definitely a huge saving grace. So make sure to go check it out, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Thank you for not only supporting independent, but again, it's a good thing. If the more of us that get protected, the less crazies out on the street, pissed off and screwed up and wanting to steal somebody else's car there will be. And then rise in assassination kidnapping plots alarms Western officials. Dex, this is exactly what I was talking about. And of course, we saw there was somebody sent a message to the B administration when he and his family went on a vacation. And after they returned the 5 rental vehicles, the president's family rented 5 vehicles. They returned those vehicles to the Hertz they rented from, and all 5 of those vehicles caught fire in the parking lot. Kind of odd. And you kind of think like, well, was this a message being sent by somebody? Dex, what do you think about this?
Well, yeah, this story coming out is also enlightening in the sense that it's painting a picture for everyone to sort of be aware. that this type of targeting is happening. It has been happening, and they've had these lists for a long time. But it seems like in the current day, in the current situation, with the escalations that are happening between, what's happening in Europe, but more so in this case, what's happening in ME, and the pressure that's being put against the I country, where this is obviously pointing at, is at a level now that we're starting to. We should be expecting to see more of these types of attacks, if you want to call them that, against the individuals that they profile and that they're going after. So, it's always been something they've done, but I think we're going to see a heightened level of it, and that's sort of what we suspect with some of the things we've seen happening around right now. It's like, is any of this happening because of these organizations, or being done in a form of retaliation? And let's not forget the video we saw where they showed a drone going in on the ground into the golf course and taking out the former administration, right? So there's a lot of rhetoric around this, but there's also a lot of actual truth around it, at least for the sense that they do want to do this, and they will do it at any chance they get.
So, and there's the other side of it where this also could be a setup for if somebody does get taken out, they could place blame on somebody. But again, the Supreme Ayatollah actually tweeted out that same video that Dex was just mentioning, with a basically a animated, Pixar, horrible, like first-year Pixar video of the former president playing golf at Mar-a-Lago, and it doesn't show his actual face, but it shows basically him from the back with the red hat on and playing golf, and then the ground drone goes in, lasers him, and then a sky drone goes poof. And that was what the Ayatollah actually tweeted out. And then at the very end, you actually see a picture of Soleimani. So pretty crazy stuff. But it also, don't forget that this could be a setup for something else, Fantastic Freddy style. And then Dex, can you talk about TikTok and G State Media?
So after the event that happened in the first week in November that is now over, what they're coming out and saying is, like, they've found and they've been able to track down that many of the accounts on TikTok that were specifically driving divisive type videos around politics were coming from the Ganda arm of Xi's country. And we've talked quite a bit about the 1 million plus people on social that can basically create a narrative, manage a narrative, change a narrative, or in this case, pump out lots of content, or distribute content. If they don't create it, at least distribute it if it's been created elsewhere, in a way that can influence the masses. And that's basically what they've done, is they've gone back and they're saying, look, we can tie a handful of these accounts that were doing this, that had millions and millions of followers, and you can see they were able to depict like what type of divisive content they were pushing out and when they were doing it, and how it obviously related to the event that we do every couple years in November.
And think about how they well, let me take Rumble for example, and this is just because Rumble is new and they're not like YT, right? Rumble right now does not have like an algorithm. It doesn't pick or choose people. There's no chance of things getting messed up, because it's basically, if they put it together with all the top people, and basically right now there is no thing that kind of picks things and pushes it to the top. It's kind of I guess it's curated with all of the stuff that's come over there so far. And what's crazy is TikTok, it seems like there's an algorithm that pushes people up. A lot of people, in fact, I know multiple people that have gone viral on TikTok, and it's weird. It seems like a lot of people can actually get some traction there. But at the same time, the For Me thing, that is so incredibly targeted. If you look up something, then all of a sudden you get 1,000 videos of that. If you even accidentally watch a video all the way through, it then caters the rest of the videos to that kind of subject. My wife was on it for quite a long time, and she basically looked at a video or a couple videos about property line disputes, and it was like neighbors fighting over, oh, this is my lawn, quit cutting my plant or whatever. And then it was nothing but, and it got stuck. If you are on TikTok, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Imagine if there's a video that's anti-someone and they push that to the very top and they slip that into every single person's "for me." That's going to have an effect, and it's going to have an effect on other countries. Obviously, voting days, they can do pretty much anything. And we saw right before at all of these different events that the platform pushes a heavy cultural kind of thing, and making everybody think that this is what everybody thinks. Right now, I think that they are doing it with cultural things, as far as the youth are extremely confused right now. The young people right now, the under 24, they are growing up and they don't know what the heck they're doing. They're all very insecure. They don't know who they are. They're going through identity crisis. And what social media is telling them is to, be a crow if you want to. It's very wild place, and it's very, very altered. They're altering it and pushing things to the top. And there's no doubt that there's manipulation going on huge, huge levels. That's my opinion. What's yours? And then Xi accuses UK lawmakers visiting Taiwan of gross interference, which is kind of ironic considering what we were just talking about. It says on Thursday, accused committee of British lawmakers visiting Taiwan of gross interference in China's internal affairs and threaten a forceful response to anything that undermines Chinese interests. It says the Chinese embassy in Britain issued a statement responding to the ongoing visit to Taiwan by the British Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee, calling it a flagrant violation of the One China principle. And it claims the self-ruled democratic island of Taiwan is its own territory, part of its One China policies. Taiwan government rejects sovereignty claims. And basically that Taiwan says, no, we're not. And it says the Chinese side urges the UK to abide by its commitment, stop any actions that violate the One China principle, and stop interfering with China's internal affairs, the spokesman said. Moves of the UK side that undermined China's interests will be met with forceful responses from the Chinese side. Now, when they say forceful responses, you think of like military. Again, there's all sorts of things going on behind closed doors. There's all sorts of hacks. There's all sorts of internal things. They're pulling strings different places. They are infiltrated into many, many countries. They are doing more trade than the U.S. with the entire world. They have done more trade with the entire world for years now than the U.S., so they definitely have their fingers deep into a lot of different countries, including all of the Belt and Road Initiative stuff where they're loaning poor countries a lot of money that they can never pay back and then taking over. They're infiltrated, so when they do forceful responses, I also think that could mean the kind of hand that they've dug into the sand, they can pull on some strings in the sand that way as well, and I think that a lot of countries are actually afraid of China pulling strings. Dex, they always say these vague messages like, well, what are they going to do? Are they going to attack them? No, at least not now. But what do you think they mean by forceful responses?
Well, we saw it with Nancy, right? We had all of a sudden the entire naval group encircled the island. They brought the drills to a much or the test runs to a much closer level. They went past the halfway point. They got really close. Then they started amping up the amount of these drills they were doing over and over again. All of that in response to Nancy. I don't know if it'll be that big. UK is significant, but I don't know if it's that significant to Xi that we'll see that level of escalation. But I reckon we'll see something out of this.
Well, we'll follow what happens and we'll update you on, whatever may actually come out of this. We don't exactly know. Don Bali, hey, Marf, I would love to hear from the Fugel family members from the chat. I think there is so much to learn and appreciate it. Well, yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And then that's also why I've done this, so I can actually have you guys have your voices heard. Zenwen AZ, thanks to the great mods. You to Goods, Stephen McMahon, thank you so much. And then Zenwen, thank you again for the super thanks or the super sticker. I appreciate that. And then thank you, Vicky Bruick, for your nightly stop by over on DLive. Thank you again, all of the DLive crew. Thank you, Chance and Jammer, and Wonder Woman, if you're there. Thank you for modding. And then Skyhouse, Beer Juice, Deep State of Mind, Renegade PD, Raging Boomer, Grandma's Vage. Thanks. Appreciate it. And then, of course, Scooby-Doo Do Right and Beer Juice. We did it. We did it, Joe. Leo X White and Al Adapalzak, thank you so much for following as well. All the new followers and all the new subscribers, thank you. And then remember, if you can, please share our show out. Share it with a coworker. Share it with somebody that you believe would find use of us. Again, I appreciate all of you guys that share our show out. A U.S. plan to drop boom booms from cargo planes hit another milestone, but the Air Force is still figuring out how it would use it in war. So we talked about this, and the reason why we talked about this was because people were questioning why, with all of the stuff that we have, why do we need to use cargo planes to drop missiles out? And we're even talking about missiles that would then drop out and then launch. Are they expecting a massive battle where they're going to need to utilize every single plane we have? Dex, that was a big question back when we first heard that they were going to do this. They are saying they're still figuring out how they would use this in war. We're talking about cargo planes. Big, they can turn any UPS or FedEx plane into a weapon. Think about that. Why would we need to utilize those planes unless we were really, really going to a big, big conflict? They are training to land these same cargo planes. They are training to land A-10 Warthogs. They are training to land jets on U.S. highways. That would be saying like, oh, this is in the event that all of our airfields were knocked out or all of our military airfields were, destroyed. What would you use? Well, we've got a great highway system, so they would end up using those to land and take off. They've already shut down many U.S. highways. In Taiwan, they're shutting down highways. In Japan, they're shutting down highways. In Europe, they're shutting down highways and practicing landing on there. That says to me that they're preparing for a contingency of having all of their airfields knocked out. And if their planes get knocked out, could they use the plethora of cargo planes as actual weapons? Missiles drop out, and these missiles are now smart. They start up, they ignite, and then they go to their target. Dex, do you remember
you
when
said it?
Yeah, do you remember when this first came out? This is exactly, it's like they could utilize everything.
Yeah, there's something like 20, just take one cargo plane, the C-130. There's something like 2,500 of them built. I gave you a link in Screener if you want to pull it up just to show this example. And the reason why I think this is important, and it's not just about America. Think about all of our allies or partners that we have sold these planes to, or that have their own cargo planes, specifically ones with rear bay doors that open up that are designed to drop out cargo. We're not talking like your regular airplane that UPS uses where the nose cone flips up and they load pallets in and take them off. You can't do that in the air and drop stuff out. But your typical drop cargo plane, where they lower the rear deck and they can slide stuff out. There are a lot of countries that have the C-130, ourselves included. We built 2,500 plus of them. I think it's Lockheed that makes that plane. That's just one cargo plane. There's plenty. There's lots of others out there. So think about all of a sudden converting all of those into, capable bombers that can, launch cruise missiles and other things from them at all different locations. And all of these countries would have that capability because this is pretty rude and crude. They would need the missile tech, but this is pretty rude and crude. This is not, we're not having to sell them a B-52 or a B-21 or any of our new tech. It's, they outfit your existing cargo planes and now you have, bomber capability.
And there's actually a map here, current operators, military operators of the C-130, and you see they're all over the world. So they could use these where they don't have jets or they don't have something, or this is the ability to launch our new type of missiles that can be air launched after dropping out of the back of a plane. I mean, this is crazy stuff, and they're preparing for this. And when you see drills and exercises like this, when the real event happens, people go, "Oh, I can't believe this is happening." But they've been drilling for it, and they've been practicing for it. And if you look at the big picture, everything they're doing points towards a huge, massive battle. But when the news and the media gets everybody in the calm, everybody goes back to business. They can use scary stuff when they want to get you all freed up. You need to be level throughout the whole thing. When it gets really scary, you need to be on that same level. When it gets really calm, you need to still be on that same level. You need to be up here when everybody else is down here. But when everybody else is up here freaking out, you also need to be calm. You need to look at this, and people, most people need a fire held to their feet to prepare. This is news from a prepper's standpoint and from somebody who believes this stuff is going to happen. You're here because you most likely agree, or you completely disagree and you're a masochist. But most people here, you guys think the same way. Even if I didn't do this show, I would be looking into this. I'd be digging into it because this is what I have had a passion for, and I believe that I've been drawn to this. And my personal belief is that I've felt like this since I was 18 or 19 for 17 years or something like that, that I've felt like this impending thing is coming. Do any of you guys feel like there is something like and I hate to say it, but like an impending doom coming? And I'm not trying to scare people, but do you see all of the things that have happened in the last 5 years? Look at where it's going. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear from you in the chat. Let's see. Do you guys have that same feeling? It doesn't have, you don't have to agree here, but do you feel like there is going to be a bigger event in the next couple years and you can just feel it? You don't, and by the way, that's just a feeling. That doesn't even go over all of the little big picture things that are coming into, puzzle pieces that are falling into place. Simon says, Harry Necessary says, yep. Harry Necessary, that's great. Florida, thank you. Neil Titus, yes, big time. Catacombs, yes. And you know what? Even regular people that aren't into this kind of stuff, they're saying the same thing. And that's what's really crazy. Adrian S. says, yes, something is brewing. I mean, look at what CV did. People really can't even wrap their heads about what CV was able to do to this planet. And that wasn't like it wasn't like an Ebola that everybody's eyes were melting out. That was that. Think about if we have some serious, really big, bad, just melting people type of thing. I can't imagine. People are going to be so nuts. People get afraid about this. Think about when Stevie started and all the shelves went empty. The stupid crap that we worried about, the toilet paper. You couldn't find toilet paper for months. And it's a joke now. It's like, oh, yeah, we've got our TP. This is a joke to so many people at this point. And people and that's part of our humanity. Like, we survive, we adapt, and we just kind of get over it. But my point to you guys, and this is from having tons of military Fugel family members. We talk to so many different people, our great mods that are always digging up stuff. Our mods are here for a reason. They're all diggers and explorers and researchers, all of them as well. We all feel something is coming, and it's coming faster and faster and faster, and it's picking up speed. And before CV happened, we even said CV was going to happen, and many others did too. Months before even, Canadian Prepper, people call him and everybody in our niche fearmongers, but him and Survival Lily, another great channel, they freaking called it down to the T. And that was months before my videos on it. We all called it. It's very freaky to see the patterns and to know in your heart this is going to happen, and see all these people that look at it and they don't believe it, or they don't want to. They just want to close their ears and go la 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 la. That's why you have such a problem talking with friends and family. It's like you can't get through to them. Looking into the future. By the way, on that right is the picture. I actually covered up the original scene there with the map of blue versus red. But that peripheral show. Man, predictive programming and a half. If you want, I would say watch it if you're against shows of, you know, everybody's got their opinions about whatever shows. Somebody might say, oh, there's somebody evil in it. I don't know at this point. But man, that show has so much predictive programming, it's not even funny. And it's predictive because it is stuff that will happen in the very short future or has already happened and begun to happen, and they're just playing out the next 5 parts to it. Dex, by the way, I forgot to tell you, you got to watch that too. If I sometimes give you homework of stuff that I want you to watch, and that's definitely one of them. It's really quite a show.
Looking forward to it.
And before we move on, I want to remind you guys, so I do have an update. So the Kodiak X2, if you do order now, it will actually be January. They ran out of their huge shipment of Kodiak X2. They just released the Kodiak X2. Lithium is in super high demand and in low supply. So if you do want to get in on one of these, you definitely want to order, because if you want to get it in January, you're going to want to order now. Flex 1500 lithium solar generators, which are the most coveted type of generators right now. They don't take gas. They don't take $5 a gallon gas. They're silent, which makes them SHTF stealth. Nobody's going to hear it from 3 blocks away. And then Energy is one of the best brands out there. They build these things like trucks. They're absolutely amazing. If you want to get in on one by January, then you would want to order now. Everybody that has ordered previously, they did their huge December kind of, they basically sold out, and they sold out like that. So if you want to get in on the next batch, they have to get their lithium and then produce their product. Lithium is being fought over by countries. This is an investment that will last for decades to come. So they're pricey. They're not cheap. The X2 is one of the coolest because of the technology used. It can go from 100% to 0% for 16 years straight, and the battery will still have 80% capacity. So essentially, that battery is made to last. That's if you use it every day. If you don't, this thing could literally last you for decades upon decades. It's a UPS, an uninterrupted power supply. So this is a solar generator that essentially you can plug and play. You can plug it into your wall, keep it fully charged, so you just have power ready to go, take with you. Or you can plug it into solar panels and keep power coming in every single day. If you don't use all of the power that's in it, you'll just end up adding to it the next day, and you could use power while you've got it charging. It's pretty amazing. The system that I have is their flagship model. This has, I believe, a little bit of a longer waiting time, but it's modular. If you are planning on a bigger system that's much more power as far as longevity-wise, as far as more battery powers, this can be expanded up to 96 batteries. It works like Legos. Every 5 batteries can be stacked in one solid stack, no external wires popping out. It's literally plug and play. You plug the solar panel, one cord plugs in, and you've got power coming in. Or you can charge it from your car, you can charge it from your house, and just keep that power ready to go at a fingertip. Press of a button, boom, you've got power. I have lost power now twice in the last 2 weeks, and this thing has come in super handy because now we have snow and trees falling down and all sorts of stuff. So it doesn't have to be an SHTF thing. It can be, of course, for just any kind of blackout or, of course, rolling blackouts if you're in California. Make sure to go check them out, the X2, and then if you want the smaller one, the 350 watt one, that one is actually the LT. Check that one out as well. That's good for charging all of your phones and devices, or even running a TV or a lamp or an Xbox. You can do that as well. That's the smaller one. X2 is the large one, and then Flex 1500 is the one that can be expanded, basically make an entire battery wall. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy. You can save up to $170 on certain packages, and you will be helping our channel at the same time. And you can get an EMP shield for it. In fact, the Flex 1500 is the only solar generator you can protect with an EMP shield. All right, let's see here. And then Putin's own cronies expose Crimea's chaos in messy PR meltdown. Dex, do you want to go over this? This is obviously
this is kind of crazy.
The Daily Beast. Go ahead.
The notion here is whether or not UKR has a valid threat against Crimea and taking it back from Vlad. Well, it came out, and one hand of the Kremlin came out and said, "Oh no, this is such a statement is ridiculous. It's a fountain, a quote unquote, a fountain of crazy and sick fantasies." In other words, trying to calm people down, saying, "Don't worry about that. That's nonsense. They can't do it." But then, on the other hand, the ministry came out at the same time and said, "Yes, it is real. It's a real threat, and we're going to have to deal with it." So they basically fumbled this one as far as messaging goes. They tried to act like it was a nothing, and then they came out on, and somebody else came out and said, "Oh no, it's legit." And now they're kind of scrambling around, looking kind of foolish, at least from a PR perspective, on how they message this. Which now goes back to the actual comment: is UKR lining up to try to take Crimea back? And as many of you remember, that was annexed by Putin back many years ago. It was one of the first actions taken against UKR. So
2014.
If they do that, that's a big deal. We've covered a little bit, and we talked a little bit about it on the news update earlier on the other channel about the investment that they seem to be making around Crimea, and by placing certain troops. And I think we may cover a little bit of that later. But this sort of, in my mind, what I'm getting from this is it's a legitimate concern. And we'll have to see, if UKR is actually making progress on moving forward to take that back. That would be a huge step if they actually pulled it off.
And in that case, you know that my peers and everybody will be talking about how if they do take it back, that's also going to bring up the question that everybody's going to ask is, if they do get Crimea back, if this is even a thing, then is Vlad going to respond with a tactical nuke? That whole thing is going to be a spiraling cycle that will happen again. We'll be questioning it along with everybody else, and maybe that's their intention. Maybe their intention is to make it look like, well, if that happens, then things are really going to go down, because then they'll start using their advanced stuff. Which, by the way, yesterday or the day before, was it Lavrov? Was it Lavrov or Sergei? No, Sergei Shoigu said that we need to start using advanced weapons on UKR. That was coming from Vlad's defense minister. So we'll see what ends up happening. We told you we would update you if they end up using anything. What do they mean by advanced weapons? We don't know yet. They could be talking about Poseidon. We don't know. They could be talking about a new tech that nobody's seen. We'll see. And then, Dex, and if you guys want my opinion on this, make sure to go over to Marfoogle News and watch the short video. After you're done here, make sure to go watch that short video. It's, again, something that you can share out with friends and family. That is over on our sister channel, Marfoogle News. Dex, do you want to give your side of this? You were not on that video earlier. Kyiv mayor tells residents to stock up on food, says heating could be hit.
Yeah, so this is, they're at like a 30% capacity of their energy supply after the last strike. So they're significantly depleted, and it seems like it's just going to, if they keep striking, which it appears that's the case. We've talked just yesterday and the day before that it looks like they're lining up to do another one, and keep them coming. If they keep doing it and they do what they've been doing, which is targeting specifically the infrastructure and the power grid and things like that, it is going to wreak havoc on the people that live there. And the mayor is absolutely right, coming out telling everybody to make sure you start stocking food and make sure you start preparing for winter without the possibility of having running water or even electricity. And they may have to make it all the way through to spring. And that's a long time, and they get pretty cold there. I think you said it was something like negative 4 degrees Celsius was the temperatures they're around right now. I don't know how cold they actually go.
-5 Celsius.
-5 Celsius or something. It's still pretty significant. It's, you're talking like 20 degrees, 25 degrees. Those are freezing temperatures. And when you don't have heat or you don't have water, if you have water running in your pipes, but you don't have heat, then you got busted water pipes. And if you're using water systems for heating, if you don't have the energy to generate that heat, you can actually destroy those heating systems because they will freeze and crack. So there's all sorts of problems that are going to come about this through the winter for the folks in Kyiv and other major cities in UKR.
And as we said before, it's like this is something where the people to the world, everybody feels empathetic and very, very sad for everybody that is there. These people are suffering with no water, no heat, no power through freezing temperatures. And then, of course, we see a possible $1 trillion package being sent. So it's not good. And for them to stock up food, we don't know what's going to happen next. But they're, of course, saying a lot of speculation, saying that they are preparing for a massive attack, all sorts of other things. I don't doubt it because it seems like it's been in regular kind of like every month, once a month or so, they do a huge strike. By the way, somebody says they dropped Tim Pool to come over and watch. Thank you. That's a huge compliment. Thank you. And that's, by the way, Tim Pool is a massive channel and has a huge staff of people, and Tim Pool is millions of subscribers. So for you to come over and watch our little show here, that's really, I appreciate that. Group of Russian generals in unknown VIP plane arrive in Belarus. Who do you think who do you think this was? And by the way, the plane and radar community, the MonkeyWorks community, and the people that are watching the radar all the time, please feel free to chime in on this. Were you guys watching all of this? Were you watching this unfold with this VIP plane? I believe one of our Fugel family members said it was, at the time, on 24 Flight Radar, it was one of the most watched flights on the site for hours. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, yeah, and this is coming out of UKR. So this is their intelligence tracking these planes specifically. And, the speculation is that these significant number of generals have showed up in Belarus. Now, what does that mean? What could they be there for? They could be leading troops. They could be leading a joint initiative between Vlad and Belarus. There's all sorts of ways you can speculate what's happening here. But the obvious thing is the tracking of the planes, but specifically these planes that are being used are the ones they use to transport certain people. And at the same time, they also had intel that said that there was a handful of generals that were accompanying on that plane.
Now, as far as that plane, who was on it? That is still, they said that there were VIP generals. It could be Ganda. We don't know. Slim Shady says Russell Brand is controlled opposition. See, when somebody declared somebody like that, it's like, what's the evidence that you see? And I would love to hear your opinions on that. I think that he was, kind of a rebel before. I guess he is one of the only few big people with a huge audience talking about the W, E, and the F, talking about Gates, talking about all sorts of things, and he's actually leading. Here's the problem with it. People call all of us, anybody in this niche, they call controlled opposition, feds. Everybody gets accused of it because all of us are so paranoid about that. But with Russell Brand, I feel like if he's leading people to look that kind of stuff up, how could that be bad? I guess what he says would make him like what in what he says, and the majority, 90% of the stuff I've seen on his channel, he is leading people towards really good subjects that I think that if you dig into, nobody up above would want anybody knowing about that stuff, let alone 6 million people that are his subscribers, What do you guys think about Russell Brand? I've never asked anybody else's opinion of him. I just thought, man, this guy's covering some crazy stuff. And I guess the whole controlled opposition thing, why do people just believe if somebody else says that? Why do people believe that about somebody without a single shred of evidence? That I've never understood. People make up stuff about anybody who shares any kind of stuff like this or questions the narrative, they get pushed back on. So nothing against you, Slim Shady. I would love to hear your opinion. And then what specific thing made you think that? I'm very curious. And then Pentagon chief warns Turkey against new military operation in Syria. Yeah, somebody said, Adam is right. Take the good stuff and reject the bad. I guess we're all adults, so we can kind of decide for ourselves, like, I guess I would rather have 90% information and then reject the 10% I don't think. I guess I would just rather hear from everybody instead of when people tell me don't watch that person, that makes me more so want to go watch that person and say, okay, I want to make a decision for myself. If somebody says don't watch this person, they're this and this and that, I will be the first one to go and watch that person and go, why? You know what I mean? I don't. Why don't you want me listening to this person? Why don't you want me even going around them? Why people attack the people around them? They attack everybody that's even associated, and it's like, why? That's weird. Pentagon chief warns Turkey against new military operation in Syria. It says that U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on Wednesday told his Turkish counterpart of his strong opposition to a new Turkish military operation in Syria and voiced concern over the escalating situation in the country, the Pentagon said. Austin, in the call, expressed condolences over a November 13th in Istanbul. The Pentagon said he also expressed concern over escalating action in northern Syria and Turkey, including recent airstrikes, some of which directly threaten the safety of U.S. personnel who are working with local partners to defeat ISIS. Right? And Secretary Austin called for de-escalation and shared the department's strong opposition to new military operation in Syria. There's always something going on over in the Middle East. Always. There's never going to be peace over there. At least not without Jesus literally floating out of the sky. I don't think we're going to see a miracle there. Dex, do you have an opinion of what's going on here?
Well, yeah, it's strictly an opinion. It's not factually based at all. But when I listen to Austin say this, and then it just gets me thinking that he's trying to prevent something happening to our own. And I just wonder, like, if our intelligence agency or the CIA or somebody like that is actually embedded and doing stuff over there on both sides or on the wrong side. And he doesn't want that to be discovered, or he doesn't want them to be harmed because of this type of event coming from Turkey. It just seems that's just my opinion. I don't think that's just where my brain went first when I read this. I was thinking, it's probably to protect something or keep a cover that's going right now. And it won't surprise me if we find out later that we've always heard. And we've always speculated, and there's been some evidence that says, our government has done quite a bit with those T groups over there. Some of them they've created, some of them they've helped, some of them they've done work with them in the shadows, so to speak. And it just makes me think that there's something there.
And somebody pointed out in chat, they said essentially that, while everybody's looking over here, the Middle East will pop off. And that's why for a while there, we kind of fell into it where we forgot to cover. I think it was probably only for about a week, but people were like, hey, there's still stuff going on in the Middle East. And we actually had to dig because the news on it was very sheltered. It was very, down in the dumps. Nobody was putting it on the front page. Everybody was putting it on the back page. So we always try to look for the back page stuff, because when the right hand is doing something, then they're usually doing something with the left. If they're waving at you with this one, then they're usually doing something with the other. As far as that is a flashpoint for a WW3 scenario. So we always follow it because obviously I think part of my life has been kind of waiting for the event to happen. I think that after, when I was 18, 19 and had all those crazy dreams, it just changed something. I don't know if maybe it's just because I had those dreams and I had a vivid view of it, and it was seared into my brain, seeing like the end in my dreams, and it was so real that I woke up, crying and screaming. Ever since then, I guess I've seen it already in my head, and I feel like it's just nuts. I just feel like that something has drawn me to do what I do beyond my powers. I feel like God has kind of pointed me in this direction. And I feel like for several emergencies that have already happened, I think I was doing the right thing by warning people. And then scientists build baby wormhole as sci-fi moves closer to fact. There's a lot of really, really fantastical things going on, including all of the stuff with CERN and them making different experiments happen, on and off Earth. As far as making a wormhole, this is pretty dangerous stuff. Before we talk about that, though, I do want to remind you, go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. If you don't have food in your stocks, then make sure to go check this out. It's freeze-dried food that is sealed in Mylar bags, then double sealed if you get anything over a 2-week, I believe, into buckets. This is survival, long-term survival food that can last 25 years. You would have this food and it would still be edible in 2047. Almost halfway through the century, you could still eat this food. That is what's amazing about it, and it is set up so you can buy it in different groupings. So if you want 2 weeks of food to set aside, that's great. If you want a month, 2 months, 3 months, you can do so. 3 months right now is the largest discount they've ever done for affiliates, which again, this is an affiliate. So essentially, we have organized a discount for you, a huge one, the biggest one yet, $250, and then they give us a commission of their sales. We're very upfront. When you purchase from them, not only are you getting that discount, you are helping us as well. We are trying to grow to a Tim Pool size. We're trying to be, Russell Brand size. It will probably never happen. We're independent. We don't have a multi-channel network. When you support things like this, not only are you protecting yourself and you have an affordable way to actually get a whole lot of food all at once, but you're also protecting independent media like us. So thank you. Again, it's us versus the world, and by us, I mean you and me. So thank you, everybody that has been there since day one. Thank you for everybody that watches every single day. Thank you for the people that put up with our affiliate ads. Again, we pick them personally because we use them and that we believe in them. It's again something that I think that everybody should be doing. That's just my opinion, and hopefully you're here for that. And then Dex, the sci-fi movies are now coming true, kind of back to like the whole peripheral thing. There's so many things that sci-fi has pointed out that is now happening. It's kind of freaky. We're talking about baby wormholes.
It sure is. So, for all we speculate about what happens over in CERN and portals and all sorts of craziness, well, this is happening in Caltech, right? This is in our own backyard. What they've said specifically, though, is that they have, using quantum computing, they have been able to create, I guess, what they would refer to as a baby wormhole. I guess they believe it's to be a wormhole, but it's not something so big that you could literally put something through it of mass or size that we would think of like you would see in the movies, like somebody's going to walk through a wormhole and come out the other side in time travel or space travel, whatever it may be. But the point is they're making, these first steps, and, you've got to have that first step before you can start running, right? So if this progresses, I don't know how long it's going to take them to evolve something like this, but if this progresses, this could be really scary and also be really interesting when the technology comes that you could leverage a wormhole to do whatever it is a wormhole does. And if that's time travel or distance travel in a short amount of time, that will be rather interesting. If it's opening up other dimensions, that's a totally different can of worms. And I guess time will tell. A lot of people probably think this is something we shouldn't play with. I'm not going to say if it's a positive thing or a negative thing, because I have no clue what's going to come from this, if it will actually be a great thing for humanity or if it'll be a horrible thing. It just sounds very scary, though, that's for sure.
Dex, you have to see Peripheral, because in this show, and this is so crazy, this is coming out now, talk about predictive programming. The way that they, in the show, they call it quantum tunneling. and they send basically the VR that they are hooked up into, they send their mind into a robot body 70 years into the future. This is what they are saying is, it says in a quantum computer, it says that quantum computer and transmitted a message between them through what amounted to a tunnel in space-time. If you've seen, have any of you actually seen Peripheral? I don't think that many people watch Amazon compared to like Netflix, but have any of you seen it? Is this not the plot to Peripheral? Not to mention with all the stuff that's going on with VR, Neuralink. Today's news is Peripheral. I mean, this is insane. Francine Holmes. Once you watch that, and then if you're thinking, what if, and for the few people that think like movies and things are actually predicting stuff, I mean, we just saw Elon yesterday post a picture of Simpsons, season 26, episode 2 or something, and it says, Simpsons predicting Elon buys Twitter. It actually did that. You guys have seen how many times Simpsons has predicted things, and you could say, okay, maybe 10, 15, 20 times, that's coincidence because they just think of all sorts of weird ideas. But then when you get up to like 30, 40, 50, it's like, okay, what the hell is going on? There's some weird stuff about Matt Groening and all sorts of things. He was actually local here for a while. Why? Why does this happen? Why does media, why do movies end up predicting so close to reality? It's absolutely weird. It's just, it's a mind-blowing subject in itself. Who would have thought this? Did the people that made Peripheral, who wrote it? Was it from I'm pretty sure it was from a book. Whoever wrote that book, how would they even have guessed something like this would have happened? They're sending a message through a quantum computer and transmitted a message between them through what amounted to be a tunnel in space-time. Where are we at as humans right now? Maybe this is why we're in end times, because we're too close to whatever the next step is. We either turn into a type O or type 1 civilization, or we end ourselves on accident. Elon Musk says Apple misunderstanding resolved. Thanks Tim Cook for campus tour. Again, he ended up meeting him in person, said that they never considered kicking them off of Apple. I don't believe that personally. But maybe that's because he said, I'm going to war with Apple. Dex, it seems like Elon kind of won on this. He was able to cause a huge stir for Apple over 2 days. He posted memes saying we're going to war with Apple. He brought up the fact that Apple is charging 30%, and a ton of celebrities, a ton of company owners ended up reflecting what he said on and basically threw Apple down a ditch. A bunch of people just ran over Apple over the last few days. Do you think that they were like, that this was a PR nightmare and they just wanted it to go away? Or do you think that they genuinely weren't going to kick them off in the first place?
I think they've had their hands full with PR nightmares. They couldn't deliver iPhones at the end of this year because of all the shutdowns in G's country. Then they had the horrible events that were happening during those shutdowns and those people that were there that were getting hurt. And then they had, financial issue. They had an emotional human human issue. And then they had the Twitter issue. And I think, yes, it's probably something that they were like, we just need to back off on this thing. He drummed up a good drumming, and we probably need to back off. That's my guess. I don't know. Maybe it was all one big misunderstanding, but I have a sneaking suspicion Elon did a pretty good job of shaking the tree over there. The Apple tree.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was, and Twitter is factually at its all-time high for users. It's even growing way bigger than it was before, and that's probably after getting rid of, crap loads of bots. So it is a powerful tool, especially he owns it, so he can think about that. Think about that. If he really was, against Apple or something, he can shape whatever tools they have at their disposal. He can shape the view of Apple through Twitter. That's if you're an enemy of Elon's now, you're not going to be a happy person. Think about that, Dex. He now controls Twitter, and he can deny that if he does it or not, but secretly he could end up putting stuff to the very top that makes Apple look bad. I mean, even the strongest companies in the world could then be kind of, having to kiss Elon's butt because he can ruin them. Wouldn't you think so?
He certainly has the network capability to do it.
I mean, this is like, I hope he's a hero and I hope he's a good guy. Obviously, what's funny is one of his biggest critics and somebody who has really good information about why he's not exactly the greatest guy. One of my mods, in fact, and I won't put them on blast, but they pointed out that he has this really cool $10,000 house, this like box house, and even they were like, "Man, this thing is cool. I want to get one of these." They are cool, like they're portable little houses, but they have everything built in. I originally heard that they were like $50,000, like he was going to invest in a company that had these $50,000 houses. Right now, it would be cool because everything is so expensive, especially if you had a little tiny plot, put one of these things on there, you've got yourself a living space, and they're nice. They're actually like really nice. They're like these pre-made, box houses or whatever. But I look at it and I also see the future of like, are we all going to be in these little tiny boxes? Are they going to stack them high? And are we going to be in these little kind of areas? Are they going to move all humans because of something that's going on with the world? They say, hey, we've all got to move into these massive centers of people and all live in our little quantum boxes or something. It's freaky. But even
there's a lot of that with him. It's on one hand, it's like, you want to support the free speech and the app and the platform, and then you turn around and you're worried about the ambitions of X, and does he want to make an everything app, and it's WeChat, right? And it's sort of like, the tiny house is really cool, but then does that really usher in all of us following this agenda that was set for a certain year where they move people into these small type homes? And so it goes back and forth with them, and it's really you like you said, you want to hope he's a good guy, but you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt.
Look at the view on tiny houses. Now it shows on TLC, and it's like the cool hip thing. It's on TikTok a lot. On TikTok, if you end up typing in tiny house, there's all sorts of things that pop up. And now people are making it cool to drive a Tesla, have a tiny home, have your own little garden, everything else. It seems cool, but they're making it because it's affordable, right? When really it's just a side effect of everybody not having enough to buy a real house. We can't buy a house anymore. Nobody can afford a house at this point, at least not here in Washington. Houses for a little tiny shack are $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, $1 million. My aunt bought a house in like 2005, 2006 or something, and it was $600,000. It's not in a great area. It's in a nice neighborhood, but it's not a rich neighborhood in Seattle. And this house went from $600,000 at 2008. It dropped, and she almost lost like $200,000. Then, now, fast forward after the bubble burst and all of that, it is a $2.5 million house. And if you look at it, it is just the most plain house you've ever seen. It is not anything super special, but that's Seattle. That's these rich. Sorry about that, guys. It's not a mansion. Do you remember what $1 million house used to look like? And maybe $1 million house in somewhere like, Austin or one of the cheaper house areas is still a house. But in the metropolises and in the big cities, some of the especially left-leaning places, $1 million is a tiny, tiny house. $1 million used to be a mansion on a hill in a private gated neighborhood. Now $1 million is nothing. It's really sad how far and fast everything went down. I just can't believe we're at this point right now where people are, it's appealing to live in a box. Banks devising ways to ID before they strike. This is another sci-fi movie. What movie is this? Do you guys remember? What was it? Minority Report? Isn't it Minority Report that they predicted things before. It says banks are developing technology to identify potential mass bangers, according to a CEO backing the push to get credit card companies to more closely track bang purchases. You see what's happening here? And just a side thing, I know a friend who has multiple credit cards, runs a small business, buys items, told me a story about how it's so crazy. These guys that do the Gumball 3000 race, they race across the country. It's technically illegal. They drive incredible fast supercars across the country. Their banks, basically they were driving so fast that their banks would freeze their cards because they would buy something at a gas station, drive 200 miles an hour to somewhere else, and then purchase something else. And they go, whoa, this has to be a fraud because there's no way you got to this location and this location in that time. You couldn't have taken a plane. You couldn't have, basically they say this doesn't compute. They track you so closely already. But my friend was telling me about this and then saying how it affects him. If he buys something, say it's something for somebody else, if I have him pick something up for me that's not his normal purchases, it will freeze his card and he'll have to go through 4 or 5 cards before he can buy it because his bank is not only tracking the amounts, but it's tracking what exactly he is buying. Do you realize where this is a bad thing? They should not be able to know and look at what you are purchasing because that can be used against you. And this is exactly how. Look at this, Dex. They're talking about tracking what you are doing with your money.
This is, and I think it's a cover. The headline is, we want to predict that these things are going to happen so we can stop it. That's to get everybody to go, yeah, that feels so good. If you could just make those bad things not happen anymore, we're all for it. But in reality, what they're doing is they're tracking and capturing and building a list outside of the government that can then be used by anyone, including the government, of who has bought what. And not just what they bought, but in this particular case, a thing that they really want to know, which is who is buying the bangs. And so my last purchase, I made it a point to get cash and pay 100% in cash. And I think everybody should, if you're acquiring defensive type things like this, I would not leverage a credit card right now for that at all because they're already tracking it.
This is absolutely nuts. And by the way, the list, everyone in California, you remember a couple months ago, the ATF guy, or it was like the head of the ATF or somebody, accidentally leaked every bang owner in California. This is a state that's like been heavy against it and all sorts of stuff, and they're trying to push to get people to turn them in and do all this stuff, and then they accidentally leak not only who bought one, how many they own, where they live, where they got them from. It's like, why are they doing that? Is that to scare people from even buying one? Like, I don't want to be on. I don't want them knowing where I live and all of this, or is it to give somebody else that information? So now, if they did need to go in and do something, they now know exactly where everybody is. I thought it was weird that it was just in California, a possible area that if just hypothetically a way small, tiny percent, if it ever happens, if we were ever invaded, think about if Xi got a hold of that information, they could go in after they come in with strikes and then drones, and then their people would go door to door. Every person who has one of those, they could pick them off first. Just a thought. Yeah, Dex, that's scary. So, cash if you want it to be secret. Or somewhat. DHS warns of domestic violence to LGBTQ and migrant communities. Well, with everything going on with Ye and what he's saying, if you weren't aware on Twitter, I can't even repeat half the stuff. He was on AJ's show, Mr. Jones, and he said stuff which I believe is being taken out of context because all I've seen is 30-second clips. Either way, even in the context that it's in, people, the general consensus of people that have seen the whole thing is that even AJ really couldn't say anything about it. He couldn't spin it. That's at least what people on Twitter are saying. I'm going to watch the entire interview to try to get a better grasp on what happened there. But he essentially says he loves everybody. And I kind of get what he is trying to say. He's trying to do a shock value point. In fact, same thing that people are comparing it to former statements by Malcolm X. But he basically said that Mr. Adolf, he goes, I could even love him. Something like that, along those lines. So I will attach the clip of that. He's wearing a full black like mask over his head. So he's obviously, I think he's making like an artistic point or something. But either way, it seems to me like something is being set up here. Obviously, there's the comments by Mr. Gates saying that we will have a hung and that we will have a civil conflict. And he didn't say we might. He says we will have a civil conflict, and we will have in 2024 a hung event, right? Same guy who holds up a stack of books, and right in the middle, all the white books, a black book that says Blackout, the Ted Koppel book about the North American grid going down. It's like when you put all this stuff together, it's kind of hard not to be a spirit theorist, right? Dex, so they're saying that there's very specific events that very well could happen. So Fantastic Freddy Friday here.
Absolutely. And when they make these warnings, we do report them when we see them. And this one is kind of timely with the types of events we've seen going, or the types of narratives, like you said, with EA and others that are out there. So, pay attention. Definitely ripe for a Fantastic Freddy, but also, it paints the picture of what they're expecting to see happen. This is the same group, the same 3-letter agency that said this about other people that have a specific political belief. So,
So if you are in that crowd, I'd keep your head on a swivel. Something is possibly going on right now. It's just a heads up, and definitely keep your eyes open. One thing we've actually shown too is if you are we did a video way back, but I want to say it's active bang bang. Of course, the word training of what you should do. Always know your exits. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're in a grocery store, always know your exits, where to go. When you walk in a room, if you make it a habit to see things like, could I use that table to shield myself? It was something that was more, I guess, relevant back when there were so many events going on. Do you remember for a while there were events like almost every day? There were mass events. And really, I don't think that's changed much. We've had tons of these events, but media doesn't cover them. So it was higher in people's priority at that point, because at that point it was being used, I believe, to try to reduce the amount of bang bangs that were around. Because there are bang bang events that are going on all the time. What's funny is that gets so much attention, but the Fenny, the stuff that's going around, that has taken more lives than car crashes and bang bang events combined. But yet people aren't screaming and yelling about where it's coming from and how to end it. Go watch The Lifeboat, great channel put together by Thomas and, of course, Wages. Great channel. They talk about addiction and recovery and everything else, and how that is destroying a lot of different things. A lot of states here in the U.S. I don't know how other countries are affected by that stuff, but man, it has taken over 100,000 plus people perishing. All right, and then thank you, Bandy Bear. I saw that. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Thank you, Nana of Montana. Thank you, Verbron. Thank you, Stephen McMahon. Says you are on the right track, Adam. Very Sherman-esque. Thank you, Stephen McMahon. Kingdoms of Erden says AI toys, Alexa Granny, Magic 8 Balls, Demons on Mic. I feel like you're referencing like an event that happened with a creepy toy or something. I remember there was something we covered, like a Furby or something saying something evil. Mark Wah, China locking down because the Vs will actually take out anyone who has gotten it years later. They are the country that has the power to lock. I saw a stat, and I don't know if it's true, but that like 99 point something % of people still haven't gotten it. It's kind of a freaky thing. There has always been that question, like, do they know something we don't about it? And it's almost like once everybody has it, and then a certain time, is there something that could trigger whatever was in it, and then only one person survives, right? Only one. This is very careful subjects, but yeah, let me pull it up on screen. This is definitely worth it. Right before all of that happened, they were looking into Xi and his country for doing very specific research. Let me show you. And I'm just saying you should simply look into this yourself and go down that rabbit hole. And by the way, DNA is a big thing. Bio-9 to take the only people of particular. Okay, so just look into that for yourself. We've done previous shows on it at our risk. It is in very, very critical stuff. Very crazy stuff came out right before in 2019. Bandy Bear, Vibron, thank you. Mark Wah, very, very creepy thought there. Be Real Beast, for Rip Curl, God bless. Praying for Rip Curl, and Rip Curl's gone through a lot recently, had to deal with a lot of family stuff. I'm sure he doesn't mind if I ask. If you want to pray for Rip, he's had hands full with all sorts of different things going on with family members and himself. Also, just prayers for Lisa R. Hall, just because she is an amazing person and she always deserves prayers. Same with Jay. Jay needs some prayers. Lots of crazy stuff going on. Thank you, all of the Foogle fam tonight, for joining us. D-Live folks there, thank you so much. Paul Shaggy and everybody else that popped in. I think I did miss one person there. Maybe it was Beard Juice, I think. But thank you so much. Dex. Let's go over the web only. Lots of crazy stuff going on here.
There certainly is. So sit tight. Don't go anywhere. Head over to marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up the description on YouTube and Rumble and click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here. Scroll down till you find the yellow bar that says overflow content. This is everything else we put together. We literally put this together. There's no magic in this. It's just our time. We take it, we look for, we find the content, the other news, and even stuff that we don't make, that doesn't make the show. We put it all in here so that you can have access to it and see it. So go take a look. There's a whole lot here. There's a really interesting story. You may have heard the story a while back. I think we covered it when it first happened, about a co-pilot that mysteriously left out the back of the plane and perished. Well, the autopsy is back, and the reports on what actually happened. And it's a pretty interesting story about the series of events that caused it to happen. It turns out he didn't just open the door and jump out. It was a plane that they were taking parachuters out who were jumping out the back door, and he got sick and apparently must have fallen out. At least that's what they're currently saying. But there's a lot more detail. I'm giving you the very short end of it. So go take a look if you want to hear more about that story. Of course, the Ye or Kanye, however you want to address him, there's some updates on that. Twitter has also decided to stop enforcing specific misinfo policies around the CV. So that is out. FTX updates from Sam saying he did not do anything wrong, but apparently can't find the billions of dollars. There's a really cool story about this notion of coincidences versus acts of God. And so it's a whole bunch of these different stories that happen. So if you want to go take a look at that, that's really good. It's, these different types of events that have happened that some people consider coincidence. Some people think they're acts of God. CNN got hit with some layoffs. The political spectrum is covered in here, especially what's going on with T-Man. There's this rumor still swirling that Iger may sell Disney to Apple. So that's kind of out there. We'll have to see if that's going to come true or not. Not that anybody's rooting for one side or the other on that, but it's just interesting when you think about these big giant companies and some of them that have been hurting, like Disney, which is in the dumps lately based on things they've been doing. Of course, we've got updates on Neuralink. We talked a little bit about that on the show. There's some additional updates on it with Elon. Updates with Amazon around Alexa. There was a star that got eaten up by a black hole. I think it shot a ray towards our planet. That's kind of interesting and fascinating in there. Some stuff going on with Xi, with the protests that are happening, and additional updates with everything that was happening. Some of this we covered on the news channel over on our sister channel with Vlad and what's happening there. And then some additional content that goes hand in hand with those. Some of those are Ganda stories. Some of those are just additional stories about what's happening with UKR and Vlad. And then, of course, another bang bang story. The people in France are handing over their stuff to the popo, so to speak. So if you're curious about that, something that we don't hear often, but it does happen, and every now and then they try to do it here in the States as well. But apparently a lot of people are turning them in over in France. So hey, that and so much more. Didn't even cover it all, barely scratched the surface. If you're not going to the website, you're missing the rest of the story. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on a thumbnail for the show, or open up the show notes link. It's in the description on YouTube and Rumble.
Awesome job, Dex. And everybody, mods, make sure to go check them out on marfooglenews.com/friends. We have some amazing people, including Wages. Dex, we got to add Wages to both the friends and the mods there, because he's down there at the very, very bottom.
That alphabetical is hurting him. All right, we'll fix it. We'll move
Same
him up
with
to the
Twisted
top
Luck
two.
Truth. Twisted Luck Truth, cool dude. He's at the very bottom. Whereas, again, if you guys haven't checked out some great channels down here, Official Ann Lynn Show, Foogle Family, Official Grandmas, they are just the sweetest ladies in the world. Lifeboat, Justin True, Hawaiian, does a great job. Willing Witness just hit 100,000. Foogle Fam, I hope you guys went over and cemented that 100,000. I know he was having problems with the algorithm taking away people, and try to reinforce that. It's a big milestone. It's a huge, huge day for their channel. And then Bible Talk 777, Bitter Critter, All Day Every Day Preparedness, another one that should be way bigger. I hope he doesn't give up, because he does a really great job. I got introduced to him through Alaska Prepper. I got to connect with these guys. Very great people. Make sure to check out Alaska Prepper Nurse down there. Great guy. Got to work with him as well. We haven't done it in a long time. Off Grid with Desert Farming with Paul and Adrian. We asked for people to pray for Paul. I know he's going through a lot of stuff right now. The Real BP Earthwatch, pray for him as well, just for general good things to happen. Lots of great channels down there. Secure Team 10, always obviously one of the biggest channels on there. I think he is the biggest channel over there. Make sure to go check out his stuff. He does really great alien content. And then have a great night. Love you guys. Thank you. Love everybody in chat. Thank you, Kitten, I believe it was. Thank you for the awesome thing. And then Ilea, great creator as well. Joe Kermaki, Regal Star Joey. We've got Paul Shaggy. Thank you. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. Can you guys remind me what time it is? It's a what do we call it? It's a It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a Danish girl. Ding, 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 ding.
Off with us. We go off with us. We the mafia. You the mafia. off with us. We the mafia.
Wait, this world twisted like true. Third fate to moon, survivor living as secure team 10-2. And the real BP Earth watch. Remember, we do continue the chat. The Foogle fam and the Mafia usually heads over to Marfoogle jams after the first 5 minutes of the shoutro. I want to thank all of our supporters tonight. This is where we usually say thank you to the people that matter most. You. People like Carol McLean, everybody else. Let's make a fresh track here. Oh, this one we made last night. Let's see here. It always happens when least expected. All the boxes. All right, let's make a fresh one for. Let's see here. I believe tonight's top contributor was John Clark. So John Clark, thank you so much, John Clark, and definitely be Bandy Bear as well. So thank you, John Clark. John Clark, John Clark, John Clark, John Clark. Everybody up my back and all the old Jimmy on them back, man, Mary Miley's. I see I flip a TK Danny Lay and I